Rainy makes some choices. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I'm going to start a collab video with one of my dear friends, Rainy from Rainy Blue Reads. If you don't know Rainy, I will link Rainy down below in the description. Go check it out. This is a collab because Rainy is starting, I believe, a series of these on their channel, doing basically a taste test of books, where we give each other a list of 3 books, one that we loved that we think the other will love, one that we did not love that we think the other will love, and one we have not read that we think the other will love. We have not told each other which book fits which prompt. We've only sent videos saying what the books are. I have not seen Rainy's video yet. I have it pulled up on my laptop right here, and I'm going to watch it with you and react to what books Rainy has given me to read for this video. I will read all 3 books and then find out which book is for which prompt shortly. I do apologize if you can hear the lawn mowing across the street. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but if they are, I do apologize for that, but I cannot wait any longer to film this. I need to see what books Rainy picked for me. And literally as soon as I sat down, they pulled out their lawnmower. So we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with it. Anyway, let's see what Rainy has in store.
Hello, Brittany. I am filming this for the second time because I realized after I filmed the whole thing that you had already read one of the books that I was about to recommend you. I don't know how I didn't catch that, but I didn't, so here we are again. I thank you so much for being the first person to do my Booktuber taste test with me, where we try to see if our tastes actually align or not. And so we are recommending to each other one book that we absolutely loved, that we hope the other will love as well, one book that we didn't like, that we think the other person will like as well, and one book that we haven't gotten around to ourselves personally yet, but we know that the other person is just going to love. Or we think so. But the catch, we're not telling anybody which one is which. So Brittany has no idea which of these 3 is actually going to be my favorite and least favorite or not. And I tried to do a really good job of picking books that I don't rant and rave about. Like Serpent and the Wings of Night, I could not have chosen because you would have known in a heartbeat that that was my favorite. I chose books that I really love, that I don't talk about a lot, or that I didn't like, that I don't talk about as much. And then just, you know, obviously I'm not going to tell you which one I haven't read at all. But hoping that goes well for you. So here are the 3 books for you. I picked 2 thrillers and a romance, so let's just dive on in. The first one I chose for you is Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown, which is a thriller following these 2 girls, Taylor and Brandy. And Brandy is an up-and-coming fashion designer and wants to work with this really talented fashion mogul, and his daughter is Taylor, the other perspective in this book, and she is just a rich, snobby white girl that wants her inheritance from her father, and her father won't give her it because she is not sober. And so she wants it, and she plans something evil, and Brandy overhears it on accident at a party. And so the whole story is, how far is Taylor willing to go to keep her secret alive, or keep her secret dead? So that's the first one.
Okay. I have never heard of this book before. This thriller sounds really interesting from the synopsis Rainy has said, but I've never heard of it before. Never, ever. So let's see what the other books are, and then I'm gonna have to hunt down that book because I've never even heard of it, so I definitely don't own it. I'm sure my library has it, or maybe even KU, but let's see what the next one is.
The second one is called Mile High by Liz Tomford. It's the first one in the Windy City series, and that is all about a boy named Xanders, and it is a hockey romance. A boy named Xanders who basically hates the flight attendant that is in charge of their private plane, or is on their private plane for the team, for wherever they fly. He hates her very much, wants to get her fired, says he'll put her in his place. And put her in his place he shall, but not in the way you think.
Okay, this is amazing because we all know I'm in my romance era, and I have never read a hockey romance. I'm assuming I can get this on KU. I've never heard of this one either, but again, let's see what the third one is, and then I'll see if it's on KU, but I'm assuming it probably is.
And then the last one is An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher, and this is about a girl named Lorraine, who's actually named Rainey in this book, so you get to hear my beautiful face or name throughout the whole book. And she lives in these secluded mountains, hiding from like her past, but she lives with her husband and a bunch of like LA rich girls in that neighborhood. They invite her to go on a weekend retreat with them, and she goes, and then her roommate Braith ends up going missing, and she gets a text message saying the person knows where they are, and basically her past is coming back to haunt her in real life. And so those are the 3 books that I have to recommend you for this vlog. So once again, they are An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher, Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown, and Mile High by Liz Tomford. I hope you have fun with these.
Okay, An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. That is on my TBR, kind of. I really loved The Wise by Taryn Fisher. I read that really early in my getting back to reading journey though, and I really just discovered thrillers at the time. And I think when you discover thrillers, you're just kind of like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. I don't know if I would give it 5 stars now, but I did at the time, and I really, really liked The Wise. Then I read The Wrong Family the next year, and I hated The Wrong Family. I gave it 2 stars. So I kind of was hesitant to pick up The Honest Lie, but I wanted to pick it up because I figured it would either let me know if I liked Taryn Fisher or didn't, kind of to decide which way I went on Taryn Fisher's thrillers. So now Rainey's forcing me to finally make that decision. I have none of these books in my possession. So I need to go look, see what I can get from my library, see what's on KU, and then I will let you know which book we're gonna start with on this vlog. Because as of right now, I don't know. Because I don't know what books I can get from where and whatnot. So give me about 5 minutes and I will come back and I will let you know which book I'm going to start with for this vlog. Okay, I'm back. I've looked. I was correct. Mile High is on KU. So I'm going to start with that one. The other 2 books I've put on hold at my library. I should get those in the next few days. But until then, I can start this book. So this will be the first book that I'm going to read for this vlog because it's on KU. And thankfully, all 3 of the audiobooks were available at my library. So even better, I will be able to immersion read all 3 books, which tends to heighten my enjoyment of any book, to be honest. So lucked out perfectly with that. This, however, is a very long romance. The audiobook is 17 hours. And if you know me, I personally think there's no reason for a contemporary romance to be over 400 pages. I see no reason for this. This has to be over 400 pages if it's sitting at a 17-hour audiobook. I don't know how many pages it is because it's on KU and I didn't look it up, but she's long. So from the synopsis on Goodreads, this follows Xander and Stevie. Xander is a hockey player for the Chicago hockey team, and he's kind of considered the bad boy player. People kind of love to hate him. He's so good at hockey, but he's kind of got a crappy personality. That's his jam. The flight attendant that Rainey mentioned just a few minutes ago is named Stevie. And as Rainey mentioned, there is some sort of romance that happens because this is a hockey romance. I'm going to start this very long contemporary romance, and I will be back to let you know if it is worth the 17 hours or not. We shall see. I have high hopes though, because this is a hockey romance, and I've never read one of those before, so I'm interested to see if I like that. I feel like I might, so let's dive in. This was the book that never ends. People, this book was so long. I knew that going in. A 600-page romance, honestly, there's just no need. There's no need. And I'm so sad because the romance was actually really good in this book. I really like Stevie. I really like Xander. I loved their banter. I really enjoyed that part of the book, but it went on for forever. It went on forever. So we start out, Xander is the defense player for the Chicago Raptors, and he is a player. He is a new girl on his arm every night, and he is known as a player. Stevie is the new flight attendant for the team's airplane. Come to find out, though, Xander really isn't as much of a player as his reputation makes it seem. It's something that his agent has kind of concocted for him over the years. And he is now in a signing year, and he thinks, and because his agent has made him believe this, that he has to keep up that reputation to get re-signed. He, however, falls for Stevie very hard, and they start a relationship. Because he needs to keep up appearances, he keeps it a secret. Also, she wants to keep it a secret because she needs to keep her job. She's not allowed to fraternize with the players, so she needs to keep her job. So they keep it a secret. Like I said, I did really enjoy their banter and their chemistry and their romance. Really enjoyed that. But this book had so much filler. Once they got together, while they were keeping it in secret, we just saw like day-to-day life things for hundreds of pages. They went to the dog shelter. They went shopping. Like, it was very mundane day-to-day things, and some of those definitely could have been cut from this book, and this book would be exactly the same. Exactly the same. The third act breakup also was extremely early. Like, there was still a good 100 to 150 pages left of this book, so even that felt like it went on for forever. It all just was unnecessarily long. Also, the third act breakup is very much a miscommunication breakup, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. This is a small critique that I have from this book as well, but it's not something that I would like deduct a star for. But this is a KU romance called Mile High, between a hockey player and a flight attendant. At some point, I expect a smut scene on an airplane, and there wasn't, and I feel like that's slightly false advertising. Maybe that's just me. But I was expecting that, and I was like, where is it in the book? Like, I'm very confused. Anyway, all that being said, I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was just unnecessarily long. It probably would have been 4 stars if you would have cut 200 pages from this romance for me. I suspect at this point, this is the first book I read, that this is the book Rainey has not read. I suspect that. We'll see if I'm right at the end when I place all my guesses after reading all 3 books, but that's what I think has happened. I don't think I'll be continuing with the series. It just wasn't something I liked enough to continue, but that's okay. Let's jump into the next book that Rainey has picked for me. The next book I'm reading is An Honest Lie by Tarryn Fisher. Tarryn Fisher, I mentioned in the earlier clip, is an author that I am not sure that I like. Read 2 books, 5-starred one, but that was years ago when I first started reading, so I'm not sure if it would hold up now. 2-starred the next book. So this will be a good taste test to see which kind of rating I actually agree with Tarryn Fisher's writing. This follows a character called Rainey, which is so fun since Rainey picked this for me. Rainey lives in a secluded place in the mountains trying to kind of get away from her past. We don't know what that past is. She gets roped into a girls' weekend though in Vegas and decides to go. However, one night after a lot of drinks, her friend Braith does not return back to the hotel. Eventually, Rainey gets a text from Braith's phone letting her know she's been kidnapped. And no one really knows why this would have happened, but Rainey does have some suspicions. Let's jump in and see what I think of this thriller. It's pretty short, so I should be able to read it fairly quickly. Anyway, let's go see. Hello, friends. I have finished An Honest Lie by Tarryn Fisher. Well, this was a book. It was a book. I would not recommend it, but it was a book. I've decided to give this 2 stars, and I'm really hoping that this is the book Rainey didn't like, and I'm not giving 2 stars to the book Rainey liked. Fingers crossed Rainey agrees with me and did not like this book. I'm just gonna hope. I'm gonna put that out in the atmosphere and hope that that's the case, because this was not good. And I'm assuming Rainey didn't like it because this was not good. This was not good. This was not good. I, in the clip prior to this, gave you a synopsis according to the synopsis on the dust jacket of this book. I did not really deviate from that synopsis. What I read is very different from the synopsis. In a way, everything I said to you was true. Some of it did not happen until about 75% into this book. This book starts off with Rainey. Rainey is an artist. She's living in a secluded part of Washington with her boyfriend, Grant. Grant has lived in this area seemingly his whole life, and all the people around them are Grant's friends. Rainey likes to be more introverted, more isolated due to a past trauma, but Grant is really trying to push her into all the females in his friend group, all the wives of his friends or his past friends that were female, into this woman's clique. These women outwardly are fairly hostile to Rainey, and a lot of the first half of this book is just drama. Women kind of being catty, and it just wasn't something that I cared about at all. The whole present timeline at the start of this book was just not interesting to me. Luckily, there was a past timeline in the start of the book, and that was the only saving grace to this book for me. It detailed Rainey's past in a cult, and I did find that somewhat interesting. But it didn't last very long. About 50% of the way through the book, that was gone, and it was only about 50% of the first 50%. So it's a very small part of this book, so I couldn't really rate this book off a handful of chapters that were interesting in a past timeline. These women decide to go on a Vegas trip. Rainey very adamantly does not want to go on this trip, is not going, does not want to go. Grant somehow talks her into it. And once Rainey arrives in Las Vegas, we see Rainey make some choices. Also, if you're confused, I just realized this might be confusing. There's the character Rainey in the book, and then there's also Rainey Blue Reads, who is the collab person for this video. Two different people. The person who made some choices is Rainey. The person I hope hate this book, so I'm not trashing their favorite book, is Rainey Blue Reads. I hope that makes sense. Maybe no one else was confused, but halfway through that I was like, maybe I'm confusing people. Anyway, Rainey made some choices. This character made choices that no character or person, no one would do these things. Absolutely no one would make the choices that were made in this book by any of the characters, especially our main character. No one, absolutely no one. This is not realistic in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, that was extremely frustrating, and it just got more and more outlandish as the end of the book came into being. Unfortunately, this was somewhat of the same issue I had with the previous book by this author that I read, The Wrong Family. I sat there in complete and utter disbelief and was like, this wouldn't happen. This is not realistic. No one makes these life choices. And that seems to be a running trend with the author. I kind of think I would probably feel the same way about The Wives if I reread it. I kind of want to reread that, but not really. I'll just let it live as that I enjoyed it. But like I said in the previous clip, it was one of the first thrillers I ever read. So I was just like, oh, this is so exciting. And I don't know if now me would agree with past me. Who knows? Maybe I would. Maybe I still like The Wives. I don't know. But I think at this point, Tarryn Fisher is not an author that works for me. I'm sure lots of people love this author, but for me, I can't suspend belief enough to follow the decisions of these main characters. I'm okay with thrillers not being completely realistic because frankly, they have to be somewhat not realistic to work. But this is to an extent that I cannot fathom and I cannot go along with and still enjoy a book. But that's my thoughts on An Honest Lie. I'm really hoping Rainey didn't like this one because I hope we agree. And I'm not trashing Rainey's book that she loved. Which, if I have guessed right then, let's assume I've guessed right. Mile High, I think, is the book Rainey did not read. An Honest Lie, I think, is the book Rainey did not like. And that means the last book in this vlog should be actually very good because it should be the book Rainey loved. So the last book for this vlog is Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown. I just read the synopsis and it's actually quite intricate, so I'm gonna do my best to give you what the synopsis is about, and then I'll be able to probably explain it a little bit more once I've read it. So this follows our two main characters, and one of them is Brandy and the other is Taylor. Brandy is a intern at a fashion house, and while cleaning and doing all the things that interns do, getting coffee, fixing the dresses, all the things that Brandy has to do, she overhears something about Taylor that is a secret that she should not know, and it kind of intertwines her with Taylor. Taylor is an influencer and is an heiress to a very large fortune from her father. Her father has her on a very tight rope though. If she fails her next drug test, she will be cut off, and her father is also marrying a woman that is basically her age. All of this is threatening Taylor's livelihood and the money she gets from her father. She thinks that money is rightfully hers and she will do anything to get it. That is what I know from the synopsis, as best as I can give it to you. I'm hoping this is excellent, and I'm hoping this is the book that Rainey loved. It's pretty short, so it's not going to take me very long. I'm going to go read this and I will talk to you very shortly. So I have finished Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown, and I'm going to be honest with you. I went into this kind of thinking I wasn't going to like it based off the synopsis. Rainey and I have very different views sometimes on thrillers, and from the synopsis, this sounded like something Rainey would really love, and I suspect that it is the book Rainey loved, but something that I might not like. However, plot twist, I had a great time with this book. I actually really did, but I went in expecting not to, so I think that even shows how good it is because I actually really had a great time. This is such a fast read. I started reading it and it just is so quick. It is so fast-paced and so easily digestible, and I had a great time with this book. So this follows Brandy and Taylor. Brandy is an intern at Van Doren, which is like a high-end designer fashion studio, and it has like a magazine and all of that. Brandy is an intern. Brandy wants to be chosen for a trip to Milan, and her boyfriend Nate, who is kind of the son of a football star and is kind of a football star in his own right, actually knows Taylor Van Doren, who is the daughter of the man Simon Van Doren, who owns this entire fashion empire. Nate introduces Taylor to Brandy, and Taylor introduces Brandy to Simon so that she can kind of get her foot in the door in order to go on this Milan trip. While they are at the party that Taylor is going to introduce her to her dad, she overhears Taylor with two of her friends talking about something kind of a very large secret, something that Taylor doesn't really want to get out. I'm not going to say what that is because it's not in the synopsis. But now Brandy knows it, and Taylor knows that Brandy knows. So Taylor has this big kind of plan and secret, and she knows that Brandy knows. And now she has to deal with the fact that like she's trying to enact this plan, but also what is she going to do about Brandy? This is a dual POV situation where we have both Brandy and Taylor's point of view, and we kind of swap back and forth. With that being said, this is not a twisty thriller. If you want a twisty thriller, this is not it. There's really no twist in this book at all because we see the points of view from Brandy and from Taylor, and those are really the two main people a part of the plots and things that are going on. So we know exactly what's going on in both of their worlds and in both of their heads, and we see both of their thought processes, and neither are unreliable narrators. Like, it's very obvious that what they're telling you is what they're telling you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You get it all. There's nothing that's coming as a surprise to you, and there's actually very little that's coming as a surprise to the characters because, like I said, Brandy knows what Taylor's doing, Taylor knows that Brandy knows, and Brandy knows that Taylor knows she knows. If that makes sense. So like everyone is aware of what's going on, including us as a reader. So there's no big twist. There's no big thing at the end that kind of plops this on its head. So that's not the kind of thriller this is. However, it is so well paced that it didn't need a twist, in my opinion. It didn't need one. It was great. The story was intriguing. I kept trying to figure out how we were going to kind of come to a conclusion and how this was going to wrap up for Brandy and for Taylor, and who and what was going to happen, and how all these threads were going to like wind together to become something. In the end, I ended up giving this 4 stars and really had quite a good time with it. It is a very fast-paced read. I read this very, very quickly. That being said, we are at the end of these 3 books. Let me recap what I think are the answers. Rainey has already sent me the video with the answers, but I haven't looked at it yet. So I'm going to recap for you what I think are the correct books for the correct answers. And then we'll jump into Rainey's video of what are the actual answers and see if I'm right. So I read Mile High, ended up giving that 3 stars. That one I don't think Rainey's read. I just can't see Rainey have read that book. So I don't think Rainey's read Mile High. The second book I read was An Honest Lie. I gave that 2 stars, and I'm assuming that's the book Rainey didn't like. I hope it's the book Rainey didn't like, because if she liked it, I feel bad for her trashing a book she liked. Fingers crossed I'm right on that one. And the last book was Someone Had to Do It, and I'm assuming this is the book that Rainey did like. We'll see. Let's jump to Rainey's answers, and then we'll come back and kind of like close out the vlog.
Hi Brittany, I am here to tell you out of the 3 books that you read, which one I read and absolutely loved, which one I read and absolutely hated, and which one I didn't read but hope that you loved. And so let's get down to it. The book that I read that I absolutely loved was Someone Had to Do It by Danielle and Amber Brown. And that book is fantastic. The reason I gave it 5 stars is because it was just so fast paced. I flew through it in like a day. It just held my attention the entire time. And even though it wasn't like super like crazy, like there was no like huge twists and like shocks and all that, it was just really well crafted. It was just a really well crafted thriller, honestly. I had the best time with it, and I really hope that you enjoyed it as well. The book that I hated was An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. That book was just bad. It was just bad. They spent way too much time in the past parts of it. And it was just, like, there was something in the description that didn't even happen until, like, the 70% mark. And I'm like, why did you put that in the synopsis then? Because you're kind of ruining the plot. And then also, there was just, she just made so many stupid decisions. This character was just so stupid, made the worst decisions, and I just couldn't get on board with it. It was awful, and I gave it a 2 star, maybe 2.5. Maybe I was nice. I don't know. And then the book that I hadn't read is Mile High by Liz Tomford. I have wanted to read it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And I figured I would make you read it so that you could let me know if it's worth pursuing or not. With that, I hope you had fun with this. I wonder if you got them right. And if you guessed them right, we will see. But I hope that you had a fabulous time reading these books.
Okay, you just saw Rainey's video, and I just saw it too. I watched it on my phone as soon as I stopped the last clip. And I was right. I picked them all correctly, and me and Rainey agreed on An Honest Lie, so that's good. I guessed all 3 correctly. Rainey, thank you so much for picking me to do the first rendition of this collab. I can't wait to see who you pick next for this collab. I can't wait to see what you thought of the books that I picked for yours. Can't wait to watch this video. If you have watched all the way to the end of mine and haven't watched Rainey's video where she reads the books that I chose, the link is down below to check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.